It is. Welcome to another anime-tastic episode of the FN Movie Podcast. You thought we were done? You thought we were wrapped? No, we still have thoughts on things. We're your hosts. I'm Dylan. This is Price.
Howdy.
On today's episode, we are talking about the end of one of the more modern big three. I think that's fair to say, right? Like it's what JJK, Chainsaw Man, Demon Slayer. I feel like is the kind of like the kids' big three.
I definitely say Chainsaw Man is a pretty distant third compared to those two.
Yeah, those two definitely feel
Totally
like
honest.
in the lead by a lot. Like I think there's an argument for something else to probably pop in, but in my head, it feels like that these are like the three that I hear my kid clients talk about. I say my kid clients being like young adults or like kids that are like 18 or something.
If Chainsaw Man can keep the momentum that it got from the Rise movie, it
Yeah.
could very escalate in popularity because when season 1 came out, it was kind of like, yeah, this is hot. This is
Yeah.
good. But it's not anything like has happened since the Rise movie came out. I mean,
Yeah.
Jesus.
I think the movie has really put it at the forefront, and maybe that's why, like for me, it comes into like the bigger discussion of saying like, okay, well, name the three animes that are getting massive movie releases here in the West, and it's like Chainsaw Man, Demon Slayer consistently, and JJK Reese, and with movie Zero. And has there been anything? No, it's just been the Zero chapter ones. So
Truly, yeah.
it feels like there should be another one, but I guess it hasn't. Huh. Yeah, so more to the point, I would say that those are the big three. So today we got the final chapter, the end of Chainsaw Man. TBD. I don't know. Japan could always threaten that way to a new chapter. So
there's been so much cope with this. I think I'm gonna have to unfollow the Chainsaw Man subreddit after this because after like they said like the end is coming next week or the next chapter is gonna be the end, everybody's like, it's the end of part 2. It's not the end of the whole thing. It's the end of part 2. Only part 2. And
yeah,
when it said the end at the last page of this chapter, that seems pretty conclusive to me, especially how Fujimoto has really structured and done part 2 as a whole. I really feel like he's done. I really feel like he's tapped.
Yeah, like anybody who's, and maybe this is kind of why I mentioned like this is why it's like the kids big three, you know, like the current generation big three. I feel like why this feels so thematic is because if you're old enough to be like you know, an original viewer of the Naruto and the Bleaches and One Piece, which, you know, they found out the best way is to never actually end the series. And credit to One Piece, they keep being fucking goated. Goda over here just keeps making banger content.
Just stay alive, please.
Yes.
Please don't die.
You know, he's him in the same on the same train as Hunter x Hunter. They just, hey, if we never end our series, it'll just go on to be the greatest, and they're both right. But
Hunter x Hunter's not. That is not in contention.
Hunter is, in my opinion, so is, but we're not here to talk about that today. So on the bigger picture though, so you know, for me, I'm like, oh man, this is that first time meme thing, because I was like, yeah, you either, and it almost feels really comparable. Like, I'm not going to give spoilers to all these other series, but I'll say feeling wise, it's like, yeah, Demon Slayer felt like a more boring
Demon
version.
Slayer felt conclusive.
Demon Slayer felt conclusive, but it was just like,
it was like, yeah,
I guess that's just how it, like, that is how it is. You're like, yeah.
And but it is good because there are casualties. Like there is consequences for what happened. So I like that, but it's a very simple story with a very simple ending. You know?
Like I feel it's comparable a little, not totally, to like Naruto in the sense that it's a running shonen that has like I'm gonna be the Hokage, and then Naruto ends at the end of the thing being the hero of the journey and can be Hokage. So, you know, spoilers for Naruto. And you know, so I think like these two feel comparable in energy, where you look at like Bleach, and I love Bleach, and I'm really glad that they're getting a lot of revisionist history now with like the new series 1000 Year Blood War, getting to update and change and really flesh out what Kubo really didn't want to do in the manga. But man, the manga at the end was like, man, we're cooking with gas. Some of this stuff's a little like feels like we're cutting corners. Oh, we didn't really expand on this. Oh man, and now we're just over, you know? And I'm like, all right, so that feels more like a long running shonen series getting milked to death. And I really feel like part 2 was the definitive let's milk it to death of the series. Here's my hot take. I think all of part 2 with full insight on it feels like he wanted to wrap on that one, and they put a gun to his head right at the end of part 1, and they said, you're going to make part 2. and he said, I'll figure out something. And that's where
Huh.
we are.
Man, you didn't give me. This is the first time I've heard that. That's a lot to chew on
Yeah.
after hearing it because I need to reread part two with the context of everything that has happened.
Mhm.
Because I mean, we're doing full spoilers for Chainsaw Man as a whole. So,
Yes.
tell Chris, I imagine you're the only one listening to this, if anyone is.
Right.
So, I mean, it's gonna be full spoilers just for that, hopefully.
Yeah.
So to say that,
Random drive-by Naruto spoilers also.
just saying that beforehand because I'm about to go ahead and start
Yeah.
spoiling.
Yeah.
Um, the whole "it was all a dream" thing is something that's really hard for me to wrap my head into liking
Mhm.
because it just feels like, well, it just feels like I wasted all that time. Like I know it's all a fictional story in the first place, but I got so involved with all the characters that I knew, and it's like, yeah, like I know they brought Power back and Naota for a little bit, however you pronounce her name.
Yeah.
But mainly Power. Power was the big one. And I know they brought all them back, but those aren't the characters that I fell in love with.
Mm-mm.
Like this is the Power that was raw and untamed, and she came in naked. Like that's who she was this raw force of nature before she got like tamed down and like becoming a real person that you really cared for, which led to her being like really trying to do that human moment of giving Denji a birthday cake for his birthday.
Yeah.
Which that's a totally different character than the person we're seeing now. So to call back to Power, like this is two different people. Like
Yeah.
this isn't the Power I know. Like it didn't like it felt like he was trying to do the fan service of being like, oh, this person's alive in the real world, in the real timeline, I guess. This person's actually alive, this person's alive, and I'm like, that's not my character, that's not who I know. They're
Yeah.
not the ones who have developed over the chapters that I have read, and it's hard for me to stomach that, I guess.
Yeah, I think a lot of the chapter feels empty in its fan service and empty in its conclusion. And honestly, I'm very soured
What?
on it as a whole. Like I'm
Jesus,
hot, and I had an
you
hour and a
really
half.
are.
I had an hour and a half massage today, guys. I've had a crazy last like
Good
nine
for you.
days. Yeah, and so I'm as loose and goosey as I can possibly be,
And this
and
got you
I'll
hot. I need another massage.
and I tell you, yeah, I could feel the tension, man. Hour and a half. I feel the Medicup for the first time. That was wild. Anyways, so yeah, so like here are like kind of like my quick thoughts on it. Like, frankly, I feel like this is a case of how do I say this without sounding too internet trolly? It makes me look back on all of the charming, funny, endearing moments of the series and not necessarily throw it away, but it makes it feel like Fuji is a less great writer as a whole. Now, I'll
Whoa,
kind of
why?
because, right? So for me it hits this note of saying like I look back on Chainsaw Man as a whole, and I'm like, okay, I think he's really good at creating characters that you kind of fall for and that feel like stupidly human. You know, like he definitely plays to a certain like style of humanity that's more of this like morbid absurdism character. Like, you know, it's never full nihilism. You have Aki for that, but like it feels like all the characters are on the like they're on a plane of like, you know, totally believe in whatever they believe in, and in the middle is nihilism, and on the end is absurdism, which is to say, if nothing's fucking real or exists, let's have fun. And he like Denji gets shot all the way over here pretty quickly through part one, with other characters sometimes starting there or other characters going on the transition there, right?
Okay.
So that's my like headcanon on that. I'm like, so you can write three characters that fall into that spectrum. And, you know, I think like Reze, for instance, is great in her belief in what she does. And then she hits a little bit of this like nothing starts to matter. She doesn't kill Denji at the end. And then, you know, then it really doesn't matter because then she gets Makima. So, you know, I think that this, if I nail these three thoughts as like these are the character spectrums of every character more or less in Chainsaw Man, they fall in these three tones. But credit to him, he does a really good job of making you fall in love with these characters being in these three like types of thinking. Now, looking back on it though, I'm like, okay, part two feels
Feels
wildly
feels meandering. to me.
Yeah, like part two, honestly, now that we know that we're at the finish line here and how it all wraps, I'm like, what was that all for? I really can't justify it more at this point now than he got shonen. You know, he got shonen jumped and they said you're gonna make more because we make more money, which is a common thing that happens in a lot of these animes. The biggest producings on these ones, the big reason why they often go past their runtime, past the idea of like where they probably should have a great concise ending, is in part because shonen just straight up tells them, no, you got to keep making it because we're making too much money. We're making hand over fist. Everybody just fell in love with Reze. You can't just like stop the train now. But it's like, I don't know. I think it's one of those things where when you read it on a weekly basis and you go into the comments and you see the things people noticed or thought, and it's just the glazing of it all. And I think it just pushes Fujimoto up to such a like author, like artist level. And for me, this ending, like, I think it's, and I'm being hard on it. I recognize I am because
No,
endings are hard to.
I don't totally agree with a lot of what you're saying, but I do agree with that last point. I think that you put it fantastically because the biggest debate within the chainsaw community, in my opinion, is Denji just a horny bastard, or is he like this deep character that doesn't
Horny
really
bastard. Final answer.
like he really doesn't know what he wants? Like, is he just somebody that's just like, I don't know what my direction in life is. I don't really know what I want. The world is telling me that if I feel like Dennis, I have this hole inside of me. I call it my God hole.
Yes.
And Denji's like, maybe like sex is the ultimate goal. Like, I finally got food. That's what I wanted for so long, is just to have a piece of warm bread with jam on it. And then he gets that, and then he gets to feel a boob. And you know, there's an argument to be had for both sides. But man, this ending though, I just reread right before this. I reread
Mhm.
the last three chapters because I feel like that's a pretty good encompassment of what the finale really is.
Yeah.
Because the third chapter is where the break happens, where Ace is like, you can have sex with me. We both
Yeah.
consent. And he's like, I will kill everything to make that happen.
Mhm.
And then he's like, wait, what is death again? And then it cuts to the cabin where he like
Right.
started and everything. Pochita eats himself, reverses the timeline basically, and then the finale is what that new timeline looks like.
Mhm.
Um, but that's all to lead to. Denji seems to just be a horny bastard. Like,
No real depth. We keep making it up, right? And
yeah,
this is maybe my biggest bone to pick with like the ending is that now I think it dispels this idea that like for all of the like deep representation and analysis that like anime fans especially do, to sit
yes,
there and take what they think is like, no, this is deep high level brow stuff. I like one of my favorite examples of this is like Hisoka, right? And it's just like, oh, you've got, it's like 3 levels of it, right? You've got the first level of people who watch and it's like, this is just a pedophile clown, right? And then you got level 2 arguing, no, it's a deeper representation. It's not just symbol. It's not that he wants to have sex with the child. It's like he's turned on and aroused by the fight. That's his purpose. He wants death and he can see the potential. And then level 3 is just full acceptance of that's mostly true, but he's a pedophile clown. You know, so it's just like this flat circle that goes on itself because level 3 is just saying like, can we quit like sniffing our farts so thoroughly that we're making more of a character than the author actually is even doing. We're just putting this retcon revisionist future onto these characters because we have a feeling about them. Because you can like the fucking pedophile clown. Spoiler. I think Ahsoka's kind of a really well written and really interesting character. He's a fucking pedophile clown, though. I mean, so it's fine. They can be our president. But my
but the
point is,
good.
yeah,
But the good thing about Chainsaw Man was, I use the past tense,
yeah.
there was that wiggle room. Like, you could like make
There's a
an
benefit of the
argument
doubt.
for it. Like, there was an ambiguity that could be found when you're reading it. It's not very apparent. It's, you have to dig a little bit to find that ambiguity, but it's
Mm-hmm.
there. And at the end of this, you just get the feeling, no, that ambiguity that you created, that the author seemed to purposefully kind of leave in there, is just not present. Like, it's just, you made all that up, you dum dums. Just read the story, look at the pretty pictures, look at the art.
This last chapter confirms for me
Okay.
that we've gone through. I'm already at level 3. I'm already at level 3. I'm like, listen, he was a horny, dumb fucking idiot that we enjoy to see win and suffer and win and suffer once repeat. That's all it really comes down to. And everybody that tries to convince me on level 2 that this is some deep thorological presentation of trauma that seems really in depth, and then I'm like, no. I mean, like, yes, but no, right? Like, I think yes, and that's how it's playing. I don't think no that it's so woefully intentional and that it's so deeply methodically psychologically sorted out that that's the case, because it's like, if it is the case, they do nothing with that. They end up doing nothing of purpose or usefulness of it. So if, either my either or is either, Denji is actually a level 2 deeply methodical character of psychological descriptions of trauma and being a victim of that, which he is a victim, but, like, of these traumas
Yeah,
and he's a product of that environment, yes, and
because I
or
mean, the whole series started with his dad having such an outstanding debt with the mafia that
yeah,
Denji couldn't pay it off. So
right.
like he starts out from that victim point
He
of
starts
view.
out point 1 as a victim character, and he
Yeah.
ends up point end as a frankly, as a victim character, So, and if that is true, then Fujimoto's nihilism is so great that, okay, then he just believes the worst in humanity and that's suffering is perpetual, which is probably actually pretty accurate. Or 2, frankly, that he's really not that deep, and that Fujimoto was just writing that and letting people make them feel more deep because that makes them feel more connected to the character. And if you want to feel more connected to the character, fine, but let's quit ignoring the painting on the wall. At the end of time, Denji is horny bastard is his whole plot character through and through. Like,
But at the end, I mean, that nihilism is very, very apparent. I mean,
mhm,
I just read that chapter, and I don't know if you hardly ever see Denji smile the whole time. He
no,
is still like he still has his eye gone. He has so many of his organs and stuff gone because
you still have the Pochita heart thing because the
Pochita
heart
apparently the heart's there, but
for fucking
I
reasons because
I
why not?
don't I don't know. But um he still just doesn't seem happy with his lot in life. Like he doesn't seem that attached to power. He doesn't seem too attached to anybody. Like his heart thumped for the
Yeah,
like he said he felt like his heart thumped whenever he caught Asa from ruining her entire life apparently by tripping on the headless chicken
yeah.
devil, which is a pretty funny bit.
I will
Which
say that one is a funny bit coming back to it again. I'm like, oh god,
which that was a beautiful full spread, but Jesus Christ, we need to talk about Asa
yeah,
in a minute. Um, Dingy though, yeah, he just doesn't seem happy the whole time. Only when he like has her for a brief moment, and she's like, "Thank you, Chainsaw Man," and then boom, and you're like,
yeah,
"Oh, okay, maybe something's there," but there doesn't seem to be any kind of lasting connection between them. He just got to help somebody for a moment and then kind of moved on, which I think the subreddit, which again I'm bringing them up because they are on fire right now.
yeah. They are.
Um, they keep thinking that like he seems to have like a real connection with Asa here. How?
No, like
No.
I get the impression that she's just gonna be a stranger to him, and they walk off, and that's it. Like that's
Yeah, and then
yeah.
like how you are in high school, you'd be like he's gonna kick himself later, be like, I should have got her number. I
Mhm.
should have tried something else with her, but he didn't. So that's the end of that.
Yeah. So, for me, as a whole, I think this is a good time to tie in like how symbolically this shapes part two in specific. They
Mhm.
also Yaru
Oh
the whole thing, and
man,
by the time it's all said and done, I'm like, feels like a waste of time. Truly,
it
I mean,
does.
it feels like
It's unfortunate.
she never has a conclusion to an arc. She never has the character development moment beyond seeing her mom die, and that's all through Denji's eyes. Like, I mean, really, like it's Asa's story all the way until Denji gets in. And then once he really decides, like Fujimoto just forgets how to write Asa anymore and just says, all right, well, I'm tired of writing Denji 2. I'm just going to go back to Denji 1 and let her write the coattails and then turn her into a antagonist at the end. I'm like, man, that's either going to be something really cool that has to come together at the end, or it just feels like you had two characters, you didn't know what to do with them, and this is shonen, so you just make them fight with nothing else. And that's all it kind of ended up paying off to. Like, I mean, there's a laundry list of things that I'll probably hit throughout the time of loose threads that totally don't get tied up. And honestly, looking back retroactively makes me think, so fraud writer in some opinions, right? Like for me, it's like the quick rundown of the things that strike me most importantly, I think, is the Asayaru character just in general. We have a main character that we go on this journey with for seemingly no purpose, you know?
The
Um,
only like if you really want to stretch it and like really try to like delve into it, like we were talking about how annoying it is people do, the only thing I can come up with her character is that it shows how they Asa and Yoru like kind of come to terms with each other, and like rather than Yoru just kind of like trying to beat her down, they kind of listen to each other at the end.
Sure.
But that's, I don't know, for her being the second main character, that doesn't seem like a lot for her to do. Like with how much time we spend with her and how important she seems to be, like it, I don't know. I didn't feel like the whole thing. That's my biggest pet peeve with part two is like there are no moments that really happen in it that really like tugged at me. Like I didn't really like fully really care about too many of the characters. I mean,
Mhm.
even Denji, I'm like not as
Denji in part
attached
2 is
to as
pretty
I am
boring.
part
Yeah.
one. Yeah, like he just keeps getting his face pounding into the ground, just bad thing, bad thing, bad thing, and he's just kind of like he's just zoned out. Like how many times did we see a frame of him just like,
Yeah.
like how many times did we see that? Like he's just not present. Like in that, I get that that's his like the Fujimoto's intent, but it doesn't make for somebody who's fun to read, especially who's somebody who's your main character that you're supposed to have the most attachment to because you just followed his perspective from part one.
Yeah, but let's quit pretending it's anything other than suffering porn. Part 2 is just there to sit there and say every victory that Denji had is for him to suffer more. Like,
Oh,
case in point,
Nyota is
going going back to loose threads, Naita. Okay, so I guess that's actually just her head, goodbye coping. Like
she
actually
actually
just be happy
just
to
got
die.
she just got murked by that crowd.
And
Like,
also, what's worse, it makes the death feel more shallow. It felt like it clearly feels like a bait and switch. And like now, but here's where I think like I start to get into like fraudy moto over here
well, like
is
the cope for Risei being alive makes no sense to me. People just like her; they just want her to be
mm,
alive, but it
yes and
doesn't make
yes.
sense.
But
Yes, yes, yes.
been enough precedent to say that reoccur like power
Reincarnation, yes.
power has kind of set the bar literally to sit there and say reincarnation can exist more or less within this world in various ways. I mean, again, all of part two is starting to get run backs on eternity devils and things like that. So,
But it's
like,
not. It wouldn't be Risei. It's like how Makima died, and the Control
correct.
Devil passed
And
on to
Naruto comes back with
Naota.
night. Right.
Exactly. So like that's fine, but Naota as a character felt like when her death happened that like okay like something doesn't line up, that she can't be really dead. We never saw a body, and then we saw her head on the sushi train, and just like this
That's
has to be
purely for bait.
that
Yeah.
has to be something else. And then at the end like, oh no, that was her
Yeah.
apparently.
She
I
actually just
mean,
died. Right. Yeah. In a way that feels now extra unsatisfying because it feels like we got like it feels like that's a bait and switch like death. Like that's a death that we'll eventually get the run back because clearly there was some bigger intentions. But the reality of it is that if that is her actual death, then it's painted still as a bait and switch. But now, just to be contrarian, it actually was her dying. It doesn't feel like it was purposefully her dying, like some meaningful metric. Like it doesn't feel like we called back to it. It doesn't feel like we would, sit there to do anything. It just does it. Which again comes back to me a little bit of like, are we buying into our own writing of Chainsaw Man too much when the reality of Chainsaw Man is that not that deep, and that it is much more simplistic than I think we should give credit for. To be fair, jokes on us. The thing is literally called Chainsaw Man. Why are we taking this so seriously? The joke's on us, in my opinion.
yeah, and I don't. Yeah, I just wish. I don't know. Maybe part one I just liked so much that I just kind of overlooked a lot in part two, which I still enjoyed part two. I think it had some really cool moments. I mean, when you see the Statue of Liberty being chucked at somebody and used as a
Man.
weapon, like that's pretty awesome. There's some cool stuff that happens like that, and I am a sucker for the suffering porn. I mean, that scene where Denji is on the operating table with like his guts just everywhere, I was like,
Mhm.
whoa, this is something. Like
Yeah,
he's really going for something here. So some of those moments did get to me, but I mean, nothing is going to compare to the snowball fight or Power getting killed.
or
Like,
Power Bang or Gun Devil Aki or any of like part. Yeah, so going back to like a bigger picture, right? It feels
oh,
like
it's and Santa, and and Halloween coming.
all
Oh, I can't wait for that.
yeah,
Oh my
like here's
god.
the thing, like, and this I'm glad you brought these things back into part one because it kind of comes back to like I was thinking today, is part one actually fraud too? Am I just liking it more? And I'm like, and if I do like it, why? And I'm like, no, it's definitely well more. It's much better written. It feels structurally tight. The action feels good, and the concepts that they introduce, like literally, we have Halloween, we have Santa Claus, we have like, I mean, we have Death Devil. And then I remember thinking like why I'm both
Oh
really
my
liked part
god.
one. Here's
Death
why
Devil.
I really like part one, and I simultaneously now after the ending dislike Chainsaw Man as a whole a little bit more. Like, here's a bigger bone to pick with me. I think that when we talk about, I think it's like in theory, it's actually really easy to create fucking cool characters of depth. Not depth, right? Of like characters that make it feel like, oh my god, they have to be so fucking cool and fleshed out and dope, right? So we go into hell in this world, and we
One of
talk
the
about,
highlights of the series,
yes, we
easily.
go into actual hell,
The
and
shot with the astronauts and the darkness devil.
yes,
Ooh,
is
ooh,
like
that's hot.
pretty
That's
fucking
hot.
cool. It's super cool, and you get met with like a primal evil. We already have talked somewhat of the Four Horsemen stuff at this point, but to get met with like a primal evil like death, something that in this world should be like, first of all, death in any world is catastrophic in fiction, but like especially in a world where it's a devil, things that are powered by fear, like
Let's first go to the Darkness Devil, because the Darkness Devil is so
yeah,
traumatic on the
Darkness
people
Devil is
that
one. Yeah.
that experience it. That power is broken
Yes.
after this. Like, she's like, I can't go to the bathroom without Digi being there. Like,
Right.
that was absolutely horrific. And then go on to where you're going,
Yeah,
because
so Darkest Devil is
I
primarily where I
agree.
was thinking on that one. Thank you, put me back on track. So all of that kind of comes back into this idea of like that they don't really say anything. They have a cool intro, and that's pretty much it. And now in the bigger scope of things, I'm like, man, not only is that like a loose like plot thread, something I was hoping we were going to get more depth in, like when we go to hell, but like what's more is it just feels like it's like, look at this cool thing I'm never going to show again. And it's just like it makes it less cool because you realize that it's not as deep as we're making it. It like
Oh man, you're not going where I thought you were going. Because now I disagree. I'm off from you.
No, I think for me, it thinks like it feels like you tease a cool idea. Like it's like, okay, if somebody was telling about a really cool story, I don't think it's that hard to make a sick character out of like darkness or depth or concepts. Like the idea of their world is like fundamentally pretty cool. Like I'll say like Fujimoto's power system, so to speak, here is like devil stronger by bigger
Uh-huh.
fear. I'm like, all right, cool, yeah, that makes sense. That's
And
semi
if you
original.
wanna have more power, you have to give something, like,
Yeah,
equally just as good.
I'm like, all right, this is one of the like more core, like more cool action horror style systems. I'm like, okay, I'm down for that. So then you're like, oh man, the idea of things that you could be afraid of, and then when we get darkness and death and falling, and you get all these like primal ideas. So I'm like, that's a really cool fucking execution of this thing. But then the reality of it is, it feels less cool because then it's just like, and for what? Like these things never serve as any tent poles to the actual narrative story. They kind of just get dropped in the create chaos and then disappear. Like they're cool tools used only once, and maybe the scarcity I could see an argument of it being like less is more at times. But it feels like it's an open thread to say, hey, we have hell, we have all these bigger things, we have this apocalypse coming in part two. That's this Nostradamus thing with the Four Horsemen, and I'm like, okay, well, you just teased bigger powers almost than the Four Horsemen. Surely this has to be coming together for a big thing. Nah, no, I just wanted to show you hell. I just thought this idea was cool. Like it just makes it sound silly and simplistic to a point that I'm like bothered by it.
See, I am kinda with you, like, to a point
Yes.
where I agree that, like, after the Darkness Devil, like, the, like, super devils, the ones that you think are going to be, like,
These are
absolutely
the
insane.
apocalypse. Yeah,
Yeah,
right.
that you think that that's gonna be huge. Which weirdly, Falling Devil had a lot of time in part 2. That was
Insane
one
amount.
that weirdly stuck around a long time. I'm like, it's a cool design, but we got a
Yeah.
cool fight with the Falling Devil in the first, like, half of part 2. Why did they come back at the end and play a role? I don't know.
Mhm.
But the one that, like, everybody's scared of, everyone talks about all the time in part 1 and part 2, is the Death Devil.
Yeah.
Where it was like, when the Death Devil shows up, you better back the hell up.
It's
The
fucked, homie.
world's gonna end. You thought the Gun Devil was something? The Death Devil is on a whole other level.
Mhm.
And then you find out that, like, the Death Devil's this cute girl
Yeah.
who just wants to kind of vibe. Like,
and nothing more. And if anything, kind of wants to, for reasons, wants to stop the apocalypse. Like,
because she wants to just live in the world. Like, she wants to,
yeah,
like, she wants the world to continue, and she
she's like,
knows that,
no, I
like,
like the
her
living.
she's like, "I know that me dying is the only way that, like,
That
death
happens.
being wiped out, the apocalypse is happening. Me dying will ensure everybody else lives." Like,
Which
what?
go back to
Like,
like the biggest question of like part two exists, right? Part two exists not for Asa, not for any other stuff, but because they talk about this prophecy in part one. They talk about the Nostradamus thing. This is Makima's whole purpose. So the reason that Makima is our main villain is because she's vibing for control against even that. And by the time we get to part two, we find out realistically, if everybody just minded their own fucking business, we wouldn't even have a thing. Like literally, it's like they made it Death Devil. Death Devil's like, it ain't me. And then it's just like, okay, well then who is it? And then everybody, it feels like they fucking like Fujimoto spins the twister thing and says, I'm gonna pick this character. They're the problem. And then War gets, let's not even get into like,
messes
and then Nuke's return.
everything.
And then it just yeah, it just turns War into an unnecessary fucking thing. Don't even get into Nukes being reinvented again because America. Like it just I look back and I think if this has payoff and purpose, then it's a cool decision. But these actions retroactively get defined by the ending. And the ending just makes it seem like part two was as messy as it fucking looks. Part one was only good because it's actually a concise narrative and it gives us a sense of like, man, this sucks. But the last chapter we see, the last thing frame in part one is Denji kind of smiling, being Chainsaw Man. It's not that, he's lived a terrible life and he had misery porn all the way up to this point, but he feels like he finds closure and peace. And I'm like, okay, that at least feels like like a start to finish story for a character.
Yeah, and then at the end, like, the second to last chapter of part 2, Pochita's like, "You weren't really happy. You were coping. You just used Chainsaw Man as an outlet. You weren't really happy. I knew that you weren't happy."
This feels like the author telling me that I didn't read what I read that he wrote. You know what I mean? Like that chapter especially is
Totally.
egregious
Oh
because
my god, that one's so bad. It's like Fujimoto talking to you, being like, "You
Mhm.
thought you had this figured out. No, you didn't."
For everybody who plays Final Fantasy VII Remake and Rebirth and talks about the fucking ghost and how that they're the symbolic of the fans and like the creators' intentions to want to create a new game on top of their old game, and the fans' will to want to not do this, the wills. This for me is Fujimoto directly turning Pochita into the will of the literal story and saying, fuck you guys. Everything you wrote or everything I read is not exactly what you want it to be. And I'm going to go do this because honestly, I made enough money. I'm out. Like, I'm good. I liked it when it wasn't big. I liked it more when it wasn't bigger. These are all these quotes are coming out now. It's like, full circle in the scope of things where he's like, I like the Big Lebowski. Shit just happens and then we just rap, And I'm like, that doesn't bode well for this ending. And then we get this ending and I'm like, oh, it's worse than I thought it was. That's
I mean,
actually
the first 2 pages of this chapter start with like, "Man, that was I can't tell if that was a good dream or a bad dream." And I was just screaming, "No,
yeah.
no,
He did it.
no."
He ruined it. He did ruin the series. Yeah.
I I mean, I don't know if we're gonna go into the whole series. I mean, we all kind of been jumping around, not just talking about just the finale, but for me, I still think part 1 is still a 10 in all honesty. I mean, it's
Part one's still
so
good.
it's
I
so
wouldn't give it a
tight
10.
and it's so like the art is what pulls me in and the emotions I get from the characters. I I love them. I mean, Aki, Power, and Denji, I think, are such a good trio, which I know has been done a million times
Yeah,
in shonen.
you can just call them Naruto, Sasuke, and Sakura for all intents and purposes, but they're in
Sakura
uh,
is such a weak
listen,
link
listen,
there.
listen,
It's not
listen.
even funny.
Yes, and everybody would point out, we all fucking know, and you didn't watch Naruto, so you don't get to throw disrespect at the people that we watched and we have valid reasons to throw respect at. Actually, speaking of random side tangent, real quick, I was just reading a thing today about how fucking trash Sakura was, and this one comment where it was just like, "Yeah, so Sasuke only comes home to pretty much have sex with Sakura and then pieces out. Like he could just be home with his family kid, but he just actively chooses not to. And Sakura just is still simping and just now we're pretending it's some deeper thing. And actually, it's actually fucking terrible. and actually like sacrificing her whole family and purpose for this, and not just telling him to fucking stay here and raise the child. There's like like 5 or 6 paragraph. I don't know if it wasn't even anything about Naruto. Somebody just mentioned Sakura, and this dude just went on a rant, and I'm like, he's so right though. You know, like Sakura knows shit, and is power much more well written than Sakura? Yes, but that because that bar is so fucking low. I will say
In
the
so
other two,
much fewer chapters.
yes. Naruto and Sasuke at least feel semi-comparable to Denji and Aki. Like they definitely have the energy. Like those characters are the same characters in Soul, just written into this universe and acting in a more vulgar and explicit way. That's all.
Yeah.
So,
But I'm still here for him. I mean,
part one's still
part
good. I won't fight you on that. I think part one's good. I would give it 10 because that's like
it's still a
that's
10
your
for me.
feelings, and
I got
you can fight for it.
I got it over there.
I
I'm
know you
pointing
do.
at it right now.
Mm,
I mean, I that's what really got me into reading manga was Tall
yeah.
Chris really praising it for so long, and I never even could get Tall Chris to hang out with me ever. But I was like, maybe if I read Chainsaw Man,
Yes.
we can talk and finally hang out, and that never happened.
I'm real
But I
curious
still
about Tall Chris's thoughts on this final chapter, especially knowing how big of a fan he was into this one. So
we've talked about it a little bit in chat, and he has basically said like it's not as bad as everybody's saying it is. Like
that's
it's
not
not
true. It's
great.
worse. It's worse.
Yeah, see, he would not agree with you
Now that we're at
because
the end, I refuse. I'm sorry, guys. I'm not buying your cope. This is bad, and I'm allowed to say it is bad, and it feels bad, and it's not as deep as you think it is, and it's painfully simple, and it
it's
makes everything revisionally worse in the scope.
after I read Attack on Titan and experienced that ending in a manga, this doesn't touch it.
You know what?
It truly doesn't.
I disagree. I think that this is worse than Attack on Titan's ending. Honestly, Attack on Titan's ending is a worse, and
Get
it's
out of here.
no. Attack on
Okay, are
Titan.
we doing spoilers?
No, I don't want to do spoilers on discussion, but here's what I'll say. For me, Attack on Titan's ending is not great, but that's because they're copying some of the homework of Code Geass, which actually nailed the landing on their first ending. I think they've made several series since then. I haven't kept up with all of those sites, but so I don't know how much they've reincarnated and done wacky stuff and rewritten Code Geass. But Code Geass spoilers. Wrapped with the main villain
You just said
like.
no Attack on Titan spoilers.
Well, okay. All in short, it said it took the best idea, and then Attack on Titan did that, and then just did it more dark. They said, "How do I be more berserk?" But stealing that idea, and then they did it, and then it was not great. But I think okay, at least that feels in character and verse and world, and everybody kind of suffers. It's suffer point.
No, it's not. Aaron,
Nah,
the
Aaron just
ending is a reversal of Aaron's character.
yeah,
It
correct.
is. It is a reversal of Aaron's character, and I can't do this. But
So anyway,
it's
so then we go into going into Chainsaw Man, is that not also true of Denji? Denji feels like it's like we literally put him back to square one, and we get told by the author via his avatar that it's like Denji needs to suffer. This is where he's most content. And I'm like, I don't think that's true. I think there's several chapters that point to the opposite of that. In fact, there are several moments that I think point out to the opposite of that. I disagree. I think he was totally content with him with Naita, and they were going along. And then you Fujimoto came in and started fucking it up. And then you said that he wasn't happy. I read those chapters. Don't tell me that. Like, if you want that to be the case, prove it. Because you're the writer, you could have wrote scenes and chapters that made that be not true. But him coming in on the second to last chapter to tell us we're wrong for reading comprehending appropriately is super like it's just so fucking smug aura. And then it just feels like what it tells me is like why I think the whole series as a whole drops down a couple pegs for me is because it makes me feel like Fujimoto is just like this goofy, stupid, cringe suffer porn writer. And that's all it really is. And I'm tired of pretending that it's some higher IQ, deeper meaning thing he had. Listen, any good shonen writer has a cool idea and then they write characters about it. And here's where I'll give him credit. He's really cool at writing characters that you feel like he would do really well in a noir setting, right? He does really good in creating tragic characters that you like to fall for, knowing that they're going to have a real bad time. Like I will say he does that pretty good, but that's also fairly one note, and double points to the Reze arc. Like, listen, Reze was great in the manga, but man, she really sold it on animation. But I'm not giving Fujimoto credit too much more for that because those scores and everything else buff and amplify it because that's what animation does. It took Demon Slayer, which is the most middling fucking anime or manga, honestly, in my opinion, across the board.
it's
It's
got
just
great art. It's
It's got
got great art. There's a
it's got
reason I
good
own that
art.
as well.
It's
No,
got
it's really good
I
art.
wouldn't give it great. I would say their animation is great. I wouldn't give the regular art good. Personally, I think that the action choreography in Demon Slayer is really choppy and sloppy in the manga.
The pacing on the Demon Slayer anime is what's the worst.
Oh yeah,
Like, the manga is so much better when it comes to pacing. I
the
mean, I
manga.
would recommend the manga over the anime any
Uh,
day, just because go back and try rewatching Demon Slayer.
yes, the first season is terrible. I know, I
Oh,
know, I know. But I will say that okay. So if we said what's your one selling point on Demon Slayer across the board, action. And where is the action the best? The anime. Unfortunately, like that's just the truth, right? So because I listen, I'm not gonna get into Demon Slayer thoughts on this, but my quick final thought on that is just that like I don't think that the manga's choreography is that great. The pacing is way better, but I think the manga's action choreography is really middling, and that the anime did above and beyond favors for to make it look revisionistly look good. So
I'd agree.
but and going back to the bigger point on Chainsaw Man, I think the animation. I still excited about finishing out part one as an anime whenever they finally get around to fucking doing it. Yeah, sure, like that'll be a good time. I think the next two arcs are the best Chainsaw Man ever gets, only because it's like a tight, concise package that really feels like it just kind of puts you for the full cycle of Dennis here.
What
But
is it? It's the assassin
it's
arc,
the assassin arc, and then it just goes into the well, technically it's
gun,
three arcs. You have assassin arc or international assassin arc. You have the gun arc, gun devil
and
arc,
then
and then
the
you have the
control.
control devil arc. Yeah. So
I mean, the next 3 are, like, some of my favorite arcs that have been in manga, like, up there with, like, Marineford and Wano,
I I
truly.
I I think they're very very good, and they nail some really good emotional beats. I don't
I
now. I
honestly,
just don't.
I would take Control off that list for
I
me.
would take
Like,
control. Yeah, I can.
I like it, but it's not as
Control.
affecting as the Assassin and Gun Devil
No, I think
arcs.
that I think Control Devil is more emotionally investing than international assassin arc by the time it's said and done. The biggest thing that
But
we get out of
Aki and Power are already gone,
no
and I
that
feel like they're such a cornerstone.
that happens in Gun Devil and Control. Like in Gun Devil, we lose Aki, and then in Control, we lose Power. They're
Yes,
still with
you're
us.
right. You're definitely right, Control, because
Yeah,
that's what kicks it off.
yeah.
Uh, is
So international is just a cool like action shonen anime. That's all it is. It's like a cool one with the cool like some of the cooler moments in the whole series. We get Darkness
oh my
Devil. We
god,
get
and you get introduced to the lesbian lady. I forgot her name. It's something weird.
Zansi.
Oh,
Yeah.
yes. Oh my god. I can't
Who
wait for her.
so but here's okay, all cool, but now let me kind of tamper it a little bit. Imagine you have a guy who's just fucking smelling his farts and he's pretty fucking actually pretty stupid and he just likes to write horny dumb characters and he's like and then we got Zansi. She's hot and she's like immortal and she's the strongest woman and probably person on earth because we got Kishibe giving us lore drops about how cool and powerful she is. And it's like, okay, does she ever show how cool and powerful she is? She's like a little bit. Does it ever feel like it's to scale on how we talk about her? No. Like we
She
never see that
doesn't.
scope and scale and power.
Yeah,
We
like everybody's like on pins and needles around her. Everybody's
Mhm.
like, all right,
But we never
let's
see it.
be on our best behavior. We see like glimpses, like you said. Like she does like a little like, oh, you're messing with me, and
Yeah.
then something
And
happens.
at the end of the day, like she just comes off as like a powerful devil lesbian more than actually like the strongest person or this infinitely strong. Like Kishibe feels like I know he isn't, but in what the time we get with him, he feels stronger than Zwanzi. Like now we know that's not true because he told us, but this is one of my bigger bones to pick about Chainsaw Man as a shonen because it is still, I mean, love it or hate it, like it's a deep, dark horror drama, but it gets to live in these other genres, and that's why it feels weird to kind of call it the big three because it technically is a shonen jump, but it's a shonen. It's action, fight, go burr, and at the end of the day, they just have so much talk with so little payoff on so many things. Right? This goes back to loose threads. Right? Sonsi never gets a big payoff in any, in my opinion, in a really big, meaningful way. Kishibe never comes back. We going back to I think he's actually kind of dumb now. We go back to never finding out what's her face's devil, the blowjob devil. We never figure out fucking Kobeni. There we go. Kobeni's devil. She never even comes back. We never get full circle.
No, she really doesn't, and she's
We
like
get
a pretty big side character.
and she's teased dramatically by having her brother be there. Like it feels like she's gonna pop back any minute now. Doesn't. Us Reze fans, we didn't get Gun Devil. What the fuck? That one I get though. You know, other loose threads that really bother me. So again, just like you start going down the list, you have the main characters, all the side characters don't get any potential real payoff. We just leave Pestilence and Death off doing much of nothing. Like they truly, from start to finish, they are non-threats. The coolest thing that we get from Death Devil, she showed that she cut her guts out. And I'm like, cool, we get that stick panty shot. And I'm like, all right, now it just feels a little gross that it's just like, I think Fuji is just kind of, before we could give him credit where he's like perverted, but he's like, wow, kind of a deep thinker. Now it's just a pervert. And I'm like, if you want to draw like hot teen girls lifting their skirts and horror and horror fetishes, brother, just go make the hentai, man. I don't have to tell you, you got the art skills for it. Go do it. Like that's where a lot of authors in your position come from. So let's call a spade a spade. Like, there's a reason people watch Fairy Tale, and it's because what's his face, whatever that author's name is, I forget. Like, say what you want about the dude, he knows how to draw fucking women, brother. He can draw 3 faces, but he draws bodies like a hentai artist. So
Does he draw hentai?
I don't think he does, but if you've ever read Fairy Tale, it's not too far off. There's a lot of just about, you know.
Okay, but to get back on topic,
Back on
I,
topic
I
though.
feel like part one and part two are so self-contained though. Like the threads that you're saying from part one that kind of linger, like the Nostradamus, the death, stuff like that. To me, I don't know if it's because I've been reading it weekly for so long that like it feels so segmented, but I
Mhm.
still feel like part one is so insulated and still easily a 10 for me. Like, I know it doesn't lead to something great, but it's not something so horrific like the Game of Thrones ending, or in my opinion, the Attack on Titan ending, that it
Sure.
taints the whole product for me. Like, like Attack on Titan's ending got me so bad that like my wife, I got her to actually watch most of Attack on Titan, and then
Wow.
we got to the final season, and I
Yeah.
was like, I'll watch it with you if you want to, but I'm not too excited about it. And she's
Yeah.
like, okay, don't worry about it. We'll watch something else. And I think that feels bad because like you go that long through it to not get to the conclusion because the finale's so bad. I don't think Chainsaw Man is that. I really don't. I'll still want to watch it. It's every season that comes out, Chainsaw Man. I'm gonna be there the second it airs on TV. I'm gonna be there the second a movie comes out in theaters. I'm
You know what
still a
kind of
huge
gets me
fan.
though? You know what gets me about it though? This might be a hot take, but this is how I feel. I think at least Attack on Titan gave us a good ride out. Like the last final season. Like, listen, I'll say this
It's
about Attack
not.
on
The
Titan.
animation is so poor that it makes it not even worth
I
watching.
disagree. I think the narrative points and the drama of it all. Like, dude, there was like
Read
7 minutes.
the manga is way better.
I didn't, and I didn't. I went in. I was an anime only guy. But here's what I'll say: as an anime only viewer who like took that 8 year break or whatever they fucking took to make this like final season over the
So
last 10 years
long
or
because they
something.
changed animation studios. They went from Studio Wit to
Yeah,
I
to
forgot who
whatever
it
the
was.
Bones, I think. So
It's not Mappa, is it?
it's not Mappa. How many more animators could they kill for that? So anyways, like I will say this, my personal feelings on the Attack on
It
Titan.
was Mappa.
Jesus Christ, how many are they gonna kill? My personal thoughts on the final like season, which is hard to say because there's like 4 parts of that fucking thing. It's like that's actually really quite large
I
of
know
a
what you mean. Just the final season as
the
a whole.
whole last burst of Attack on Titan over the last 6 or 7 years. I remember I kept thinking every time it came out, I'm like, why am I watching this? And not because I think it was so bad, but because I'm like, man, I don't know. I've kind of forgot what's going on. It's like Stranger Things. Every time they kept putting out a season 12 years later, I'm like, why are we watching this? And then I would watch, not Stranger Things, I would watch the Attack on Titan stuff. And I remember thinking, the drama's still fucking hidden. The action's okay, but the drama's fucking cool. Like the ideas are still executing. I felt that way and I enjoyed the ride all the way to the end. And frankly, I didn't think the ending was so. I think the ending, I'm like, that's a choice. Whatever. Like Aaron decides to be like the bad guy of the world, and I can see the motivation. I'm like, that strips off Code Geass. That's exactly what Code Geass did, and Code Geass did it better in my opinion. But
But so you already went full spoiler. That's not who Aaron is. He has never claimed to play this mind game like, "Oh, I'm just going to be the bad guy so everybody has a target to team up on." What are you
nah,
talking about? And then like later, like a few pages later, it does the time skip and it's like, "Yeah, everybody decided to fight each other anyway."
yeah.
What?
And that's how it plays in the
No.
manga. All we get is
No.
that period of time is just like chill, and then like in the anime, it's just like, and then humans be beef and humans be war, and that's just, and then Mikasa is just sad at the end, right? And I'm like, yeah, I don't love the ending. I'm not saying it's well written, nor do I think it's like necessarily fully congruent with. I mean, mind you, it had been like 10 years since I'd seen him as a kid. By the time I'd been watching him as an adult, I'm like, I don't know, this seems like the same miserable Aaron that I've
Lead to
seen for the last
Chainsaw Man.
decade. So back to Chainsaw Man. With Attack on Titan, I can at least say I had kind of enjoyed the last season because in my experience, just watching it, I'm like, man, it keeps kind of being a little good. I at least enjoy the journey it takes me on. With Chainsaw Man Part 2, I'm like, nah, it's spaghetti. Deshaun, one of my Final Fantasy buddies, had posted, he's like, dude, this was like halfway through Part 2. This is like so many chapters ago. He's like, I can't keep fucking reading this shit, dude. I fucking can't. It doesn't feel like it's ever going anywhere. And this is when it still felt like there was, oh, we're so back. Oh no, it's over. That fucking gif all over
I
again.
don't if you think about there's so many different directions that part 2 is going. Like,
It's
do you
a
remember the
shotgun of
church?
narratives.
Do
It's
you
a
remember
shotgun.
the church? That
Yeah.
was huge.
What
And
happened
like
to
the
what happened to the flame guy?
fake Chainsaw Man.
That really never actually pays out to anything. Did we ever
What was
actually resolve
that?
that?
I don't think so. And that
Okay,
seemed like a huge deal.
thinking on it, did we resolve anything that they started in part 2? That only starts in part 2, right? Let's not start part 1. Part 1 starts Nostradamus, so that's where we get the in-game thing. Anything that starts in part 2 has zero resolution. Asa and Yaru don't really have a full, concise character arc from start to finish, and in fact get benched halfway through. At most, you say, well, she got to view her mom died. I'm like, nobody fucking cares. They didn't do anything about it. They just showed trauma. It doesn't mean that there's a character growth. It just said, wow, that's why Asa suffers. And to your point, maybe the Asa Yaru relationship being more, they're finding this healthy middle ground. But we don't see Asa ever again. We get that flashback, and her as a character in the pages is no more. You only hear Yaru narrating first saying Asa consents, which is also super fucking sus. And I'm like, no, I don't believe that's true. And we'll never know.
There's like that meme, there's someone you're not asking.
Yes. And I'll tell you, we'll never fucking know because we never came back to that character. The titular character of part 2. So nothing about our main character for part 2 gets resolved. We get the Justice Devil doing that thing where they kind of tease back and forth, and it feels like they rebrought her back, and I'm like, doesn't really do it anywhere. Death and Pestilence get involved, and or Death and Famine rather get involved, and frankly, don't really do much of anything. They kind of just toy around and look like they're doing evil things, but then it's not. Then we get the church and the Flame Devil and fake Chainsaw Man, and none of those 3 things get resolved in a meaningful, purposeful way. I don't remember if the Flame guy officially ever dies. I'm trying to remember. Did we see him actually die? Does he just not come back?
I don't remember.
My point, right? Because it's just like it literally felt like it wasn't like every week. It wasn't a villain of the week. It was a villain of the 3 month. It was like a villain of the quarter. And then it was just like,
but then everything stopped when the War Devil finally fully took over, and it's like there's all these threads. War Devil found nukes. That's
forgot about the rest of threads. Yeah, so not a single thing they set up in part 2 has any payoff, any conclusion, any real meaningful impact by the time we get to its ending. And
it's almost like there's a Stephen King book I read that's really, really long, and apparently he couldn't figure out, I don't want to say what it is to spoil it because I don't want to do that. Yeah. Apparently he couldn't figure out a way to properly
put it all together,
get all the arcs back together,
he
all
couldn't
the
snatch it.
Stories. He literally blew everybody up.
You know what? I think it's a stupid ending, whatever that is, but at a certain point you got to respect an author just saying I can write a great arc, but I can't finish it. And I'm like, okay. So you guys are here's who Fujimoto is now. He is now who directed The Force Awakens? J.J. Abrams. He's the J.J. Abrams of anime authors. Say what you want about J.J. Abrams. He makes really cool shit and he has really cool ideas for things. And then he cannot ever take it to finish. He's great at starting a series. He's not great at finishing it. Now, credit to Fujimoto. You could almost argue, okay, part 1 is a start and a finish and a middle through, and it all cohesively lands together. And I think you're not wrong for saying that. But part 2 retroactively makes part 1 worse for me because they gave us more Denji, more time, more concepts. And if you just starts to finish Chainsaw Man as the end on that, I think that he's a competent, more deeper writer character with deeper philosophical meanings behind things. After seeing part 2, you can call it burnout, you can call it shonen having the gun to his head, you can call it whatever you want to. I think he's a dumb author now. I think he's just like, or at least in regards to Chainsaw Man, this is a dumb thing that I think is a little fun and a little bit of a like a satire to a certain extent of shonen that is still shonen. That's almost 2/3 of like the big 3 currently. Like JJK and Chainsaw Man are both notoriously known for being like, oh, they were supposed to be shonen that were almost satirical of shonen, like they were taking the tropes and throwing it on their heads. And then what we ended up with was, okay, that's really great if you steal the formula and then do it satirically because we love ironic things as millennials. But by the end, it still has to have a cohesive ending. And can you spot the big connecting thread between these two animes? In my opinion, I'll spoil it for you. Endings that suck for 500, Bob. Like, I'm not
Uh,
getting into JJK ending today either, for the record. But
yeah, yeah. Let's not completely spoil absolutely everything we're talking about, even though we normally do.
you normally do.
Uh, I know. I did not expect you to be this negative on it.
I'm
You
salty.
have like talking through this. I will say that my scoring of part two has gone down one point.
Yeah, just
Um,
one.
I mean, that's quite a bit. Whatever we've been doing the FMF
Yeah, I
podcast
mean,
for so long, and it's like you're not gonna sway me of what I'm coming in with.
I honestly wasn't thinking of a 0 to 10 score, but man, it's for my scores. It's gonna like if and when we get to that question, that's gonna be rough. Like,
I mean, part one's still a 10 to me. I think there's fun stuff in part two. I mean, I think there's some interesting stuff that he still goes for. Like I said, the church is interesting. Him just I'm a sucker for misery porn.
but
And
it's
I
just
mean,
cool ideas with no actual execution. And like, here's the worst part about it for me. We don't even get the validation of cool fights for it. Like at least in shonens, the worst thing we can say about like interesting arcs is that we get a cool fight or something out of it. We don't even really get that in Chainsaw Man,
the
which to be
char-
fair
the
is not
characters in
great.
the characters in the moments are what I come to Chainsaw Man for.
Yes, I'm not saying that the action
The
is
anime
good.
has given us amazing fights from Chainsaw Man,
Yeah.
and there is some cool like art like fights in Chainsaw Man, but it's really the moments for me. It kind of reminds me of how like Zoro fights in One Piece,
The robot fights are so
where
bad in One Piece,
where where
actually.
where it's basically like I'm gonna use my Chamana Hamana Sudoku move, and then the next like you flip the panel and it's just Zoro with like his arms
Yeah, the
behind
slashes.
him,
It's all
and
I will say here's a quick like drive-by stray for Oda and Fairy Tail again because that I recently picked back up on the 1,000 year or 100 year quest because I think it's a fun idea, but I think it's stupid and it's just guilty pleasure for me at this point. But I will say that Fairy Tail action almost always ends with just for whatever reason the villain losing to a bat like a move just like that every single time in Fairy Tail. It's just like cinematic finish fight. That's all it always all breaks down to. And like credit to Oda and his other fights, other characters actually do that. He cannot do swordplay choreography well, and it always ends with just fucking that Zoro just being like, "And cut slash, and I win." And I'm like, God, it's so. And even the animation team doesn't really buff it up so much. Realistically, like the anime doesn't do it gigantic favors either. Like Zoro as an action character and a largely shonen anime, and I'm like, man, Oda really showing why he is the goat. Like truly, like as a world builder, unmatched. I don't in character development, honestly, pretty fucking good. He has a lot of characters with a lot of depth and a lot of things. Are some of them shallow? Yes. Does he neuter the women eventually? He doesn't know how to keep up with women and power levels on this. We could talk about that all day too. But you know, God, does he get a lot of things right? Where I look at like Fuji and I'm like, what does he get right? And I'm like, he's good at writing dramas. Okay. He's not particularly great at writing action. Like he's
I'll
good at
I'll
writing
I'll
comedy.
I'll kind of agree with you because that break he took between part one and part two, where he made Look Back and Goodbye Airy,
Uh-huh.
like really shows like where he should be. And
Yeah.
I'm okay with it. If that's what he wants to do is make those short stories,
Short
I am
story dramas
here
that have
for it.
have
Here
nihilistic
for it.
endings. Sure. Yeah. The funny thing is, I actually have not got around to watching and or reading any of those.
What? Oh
Yeah.
my god,
You know
Dylan.
what the funniest thing about that is? I said I'm gonna wait until Chainsaw Man's done to go check out his other property stuff, and now I'm like I'm off of it.
I
Like
have both of them
I
right
know you
there if
do.
you want to
I
borrow
know
them.
you do because I know that how big of a Chainsaw Man fan you literally for those who don't know this, one time me and Price were riding a plane to Omaha, Nebraska for a Final Fantasy trading card game tournament, and that plane was like going down. And right before, all I remember was looking at Price reading Chainsaw Man during this whole time, thinking like, this man's really gonna read Chainsaw Man the manga as we crash and burn into the fucking ground. Price fucking loves this. It is on record has been your favorite manga slash anime of like
It is sad because people have asked me like what my favorite manga is, and I'm like Chainsaw Man. Like I know it should be One Piece,
at
but
this
it's
point
not.
It should
At
definitely
this
be.
point, at this point, it's One Piece. Like,
Yeah.
man, Chainsaw Man really has like. I wanted to so bad. I wanted it to be my favorite, but yeah, with this ending, it just unfortunately isn't going to be there. Which
Mm.
if I stopped at the end of part one, maybe it would be my favorite. But that's like what 100 chapters compared to almost 1,200 of One Piece.
Yeah, it's like pretty unfair to say like if we're honestly, even if you said quality to quantity, like
Hmm.
One Piece is really insane for the amount of quality it has still at 1,200 plus chapters.
There's some big stinkies though.
Yeah, I know this most recent arc has some big stinkies that I don't know about, but I've heard some people be like, like
It's still good. No, Elbaf arc has still been good.
I mean, the
It
worst that we
it
have
it it
in One Piece,
drags. It
yeah,
drags a little bit, but it's still
but that's
good.
Oda.
Unlike
Oda it takes 2 chapters to think about what he's doing for the next chapter for like the bigger whole. And honestly, sometimes it pays off. But like, yeah, I mean, what's the worst things that we like? The 2 worst things we can say about One Piece is what, like, I don't know, Thriller Bark
Fishman Island.
and Fishman Island, and then other than that,
You're
everything
right.
else
Thriller Bark doesn't get enough shit.
it doesn't. It's pretty mid. It's pretty like okay. It has the
It's
one
so
ending scene at
mid.
the end. It has the one scene at the end where
The
it's
team up fight against the huge
yeah
contraption thing is really
right,
cool.
and I'll give a and
That's
Zoro
one of the
moment
few times you really see the crew like
actually
come
yeah
together against like a common enemy. Like usually
yeah.
everybody's off solo fighting whoever, but that's one of the
Well,
few
Zoro
times they
gets
come
that one
together.
pain moment, and that's the one cool. He's like nothing at all. You know, he's just like, oh, I'm fine. You know, like he
Oh, when
takes all the
Kuma is like, you can have all the
yeah
pain instead of
yeah, that
them.
and I'll let you keep him. And he's like, okay. And then he has that one. I'm like, yeah, this is where Zoro's best when he's not actually fighting anybody. Like that's it. Like, anyways, enough One Piece glazing. God, that's so good. I can't wait until this next arc's finished in the next couple of years, and I get to catch up on it before the next 6 arcs start. So it's never gonna stop, baby. We're gonna die before Oda finishes it.
I
So
hope he doesn't die. He's keeping a lot of the GDP of Japan going himself on
boy,
One
is
Piece.
he. Dude, the man. Honestly, how much money does that guy have to have? I'm surprised on a bigger thing. That's more
There's
on
no telling.
no telling.
No telling. All right,
Uh,
final thoughts on Chainsaw Man. Your
Part
go.
1's good. Part 2 makes part 1 feel a little worse, and the whole series feel a little worse. And part 2 is just a shotgun of ideas with no actual great execution, and it's so frustrating that at the ending of it all, that we go back and it makes the character that actually gets a good start to finish story and ending. It ruins the ending of part 1, in my opinion. And it says, okay, and then he goes into hell, and figuratively this time, not and even a little bit literally, and then he goes into hell, and then we don't even see the cool concepts again. Yeah, so as a shonen anime, which I get, I guess it ironically does. I'm like, as a horror anime, it has some horror ideas, but in the bigger scope, it's actually just a drama. And as a drama, I'm like, none of the drama in part 2 hits. So you're telling me half of the series is defined by bad drama, with half of the series defined by really good drama. At best, I could probably, if I'm giving it a score, I guess, at best I could give it a 5 if I was giving part 1 a total 10. In reality, I think like the part 1 is really, really good. I think I'd give it like an 8.5 or 9. It's not perfect for me, but it's pretty solid. But that being said, part 2 is half of the series, and then it retroactively hurts the other half of it. It's like a 3.5 by the time it's all said and done with me now. So
I can get that. I mean, Chainsaw Man, the manga. Speaking of just the manga,
yes,
is really what got me into reading more manga.
yeah,
It's really my first one I really delved into, and since then I've read Jujutsu Kaisen, Kagurabaki,
I gotta get into
Don
reading.
Don Don, Demon Slayer, a whole bunch of stuff. I need to dive more out from
Yeah,
adaptations. Promise Neverland. That's another one that was
Whew.
really, really good.
Yeah.
Oh man, don't even talk about the anime. That hurts my core so much.
Good
Uh,
first season though.
the first season is top tier, absolute top tier. I had Kelly watch that and she loved it.
First
Uh,
season is part 1 of Chainsaw Man, followed by part 2 of Promised Neverland.
there
So
is nothing as bad as Promise Neverland season 2. Nothing.
I don't know.
Um,
What's the I don't know if you know. I doubt you know this one off the cuff, but there's an anime that I there's a famous anime that's notoriously super bad because whenever they got sent to dub it in English, this is like an old like 2000s anime. But whenever
Ghost
they
Stories.
Yes, Ghost Stories. Whenever they dubbed it, the dub team just got to see if anybody was paying attention. They just dubbed it however they wanted to, and it just dubs like a modern abridged now. But it's so fucking
They use the R word like
yeah,
all the
all the time.
time.
Racial slurs, rape, all retard, like all of these things. It's
Oh,
so
it's so
comedically good.
funny. But,
Yeah,
back to Chainsaw Man, part 1 is really what got me into reading manga, truly. Because like, when part 1 ended,
yeah,
I went outside to try to view other stuff and see what else
right.
is out there, which I really appreciate, and I think part 1 is perfect. I mean, it's everything I want. It's got super funny moments, it's dark, which I like the dark shit, um but it's not all misery porn, but it still has a negative tone. At the end, Denji's smiling, but why?
Yeah,
Because all of his support system has gotten destroyed. He got completely played by Makima, who he thought like he was going to have a real connection with. Found out that she's the devil, and well, metaphorically speaking, sorry,
yeah.
because
God
the
forbid we
devil.
actually, call back to another actual devil that's really cool and it just only serves to
Yeah,
stunt on people.
but then all of his support system's gone. Aki, Power, Kishibe, everybody. So
Yeah,
it's like, why is he really smiling? Like, you can look at that smile from a glance and be like, oh, he's doing great. But then you look a little bit deeper and it's like, oh, like he's just going through the pain. Like he's
yeah.
trying to get to his next fix or whatever. Still an easy 10 for me. I would still recommend part 1 to anybody. I would give them that box right there and say, read this. It's that good.
I would nature for
Part
that. Yeah.
part 2, on the other hand, really merits a reread. I think I need to really reread it to really give it like a definitive score for
Mhm.
myself, because part 2 really grasps for a lot, and my first reaction is to say it doesn't really hit any of those. It's a lot of misery, which again, I like the dark stuff, so that boosts the score for me a lot, but it still ends in an unsatisfying way. I mean, I really liked how, like, at the end of the big Dingy versus Asa fight,
Mhm.
and he's like, "Wait, like, first of all, right before that, where it's like you can't die, but bugs and beasts are getting everywhere, so they're eating you, but you're
Mhm.
still alive, even if you're in pieces." It's like, that's a cool concept. I really like that, but then it doesn't go anywhere, and
Yeah.
Fujimoto's like, I don't know how to end it either, so let's just do this instead. So the it all was a dream thing is a cliche that never hits for me. I can't think of a single time it ever has hit. I really don't like it, and this is no different. It really, and the fact that at the end it's almost like Fujimoto's like trying to have his cake and eat it too, where he's bringing back, like I said at the beginning of this conversation, he's bringing back all these characters that you like as like fan service, but those aren't my characters. That's not my power. That's not my Nyota. It's not my Asa.
It's
It's
an
not all
alternate
these
universe
people.
effectively at this point, right? Yeah, these are just
Yeah,
skinwalkers to us, so
yeah, these aren't the people I have a connection with. So the ending
Power's
falls
ass also got
really
fatter
hard.
too. She got the Asa
It really did. It really did. I noticed that when like she jumps at Nyota to try to
yeah,
get her, and it's like a full shot of
full
it. Like,
spread of it,
huh?
yeah.
She really got thickened
He learned
somehow.
how to draw right around Yoru o'clock with the jeans, and then just said everybody's about to have a thick dumper at this point, so
um, from the my reaction to part 2, I think it still is a 6. I don't have a great like reason why. I feel like Mason
yeah.
when he's just like, I just like it. I
Yeah,
do.
you're like,
It's
"I'm blinded by my emotion, but my logic will eventually prevail and start to bring the score down."
it will. The score will only go down. This is like such a soft 6.
Yeah, 6 is as high
It's
as
so
this goes for
soft.
you. I'm starting at 3 and going probably actually pretty consistent with my scores. I won't go higher or lower, if anything.
Yeah, I think like tomorrow I'm going to do a reread of part 2 front to back
Yeah,
and see like how it stands, and probably actually I will lower the score, I'm sure. So it's a
because every
shame
cool idea you start to see, you're gonna remember it doesn't go
it
anywhere.
doesn't go anywhere. Yeah.
It's what part 2 is truly suffering for suffering's sake. That's it.
Which I'm okay with sometimes. I mean, Whiplash is my favorite movie of all time, and it ends in a very ambiguous way that I think is very reminiscent of the ending of part 1, where it
Yeah,
seems like everything's good, but then you think, in Whiplash, spoilers, in Whiplash is like, are these just two people who are just enabling each other that have very destructive habits?
Correct.
Or
That's
are they enabling each other and gonna get to a higher state where they wanna be and be
are
happy?
are
You
they
don't
gonna hate
know.
fuck their way to like to the best, jazz musicians that white guys have ever been? Maybe, Oh,
Yeah.
side I randomly on a day was like with Allie and I was like, "Oh, let's watch Whiplash," because it was on Netflix or something, and I was like, "Yeah, Whiplash is good." I was like, "You ever seen that?" And she was like, "No," and I'm like, "Oh, there's a lot of good memes that come from Whiplash, so I gotta show you this." And then she watched it, and she's like, "Oh, wow, I was tense the whole time, and I, like, was locked in," and she was like, "That's maybe one of my favorite movies." I was like, "It's pretty good." And I was like, "Yeah, it's a pretty solid movie," and I'm like, "I hate Miles Teller, but you know what? Son of a bitch, he's in a lot of pretty good movies. I gotta give him credit." Like,
Did you tell her that you know somebody with great movie taste that it is their favorite movie?
no, I said that Price discovered a good movie and takes credit for it, and I'm like, "He had nothing to do with this movie."
You say I take credit for that? I never do. I just love the
Definitely
movie.
did. Go watch the review. Go back and
I
watch the review.
I just love the movie. I'd never claim that I discovered it or whatever. I just love it. Mason's the one who picked it. Mason picked that movie.
Oh yeah, Mason's the one that picked it, isn't it?
Yeah, and
It's just
then
so like it's been,
it,
yeah, but you've been championing it for so long. I feel like
and
you've
then
revision history it so that
And
you've
then
picked.
I said, like, I loved it getting to see it that first time. And then I told Jackson. Jackson was like, "We watched it years ago, you and me together." I was like, "No, we did not."
Yeah.
So he says I watched it before. I don't believe it. But this isn't the movie podcast. This is the manga podcast that we never had. We had
Mhm.
a lot more thoughts than we thought. I cannot believe how hot you were. I'm very
I mean, you
shocked
did.
on that. But I
Yeah.
don't fault you. You haven't said anything I categorically disagree with, and I know you well enough and spend enough time with you that I would tell you to your face if
You
I
would.
think you're a stupid dumb head, and you would do the same to me. You do it
And
quite
spoiler,
frequently.
the only real stupid dum head, Fujimoto. Actually.
So, last quick question:
Yep.
are you going to read his next piece that comes out?
Hell no. I haven't read the other pieces that I hear are really good and concise and to the point. And I probably would like it because I actually do enjoy dramas. I'm really enjoying Oshinoko, even though that spoiler has a really, really rough ending that I hope that the anime revisions. I hope they just change it straight up, honestly. That's what they're doing in Bleach. Bleach 1000 Year Blood War, like as a this is not sorry guys, Bleach just has an ending where it gets rushed. Like that's really the biggest problem. It's not necessarily it's bad, it's just rushed and they're expanding on all these things in 1000 Year Blood War. Like it's so good to be a Bleach fan right now because the anime not only looks gorgeous and the fights are insane, but we're getting expanded lore and expanded ending and expanding everything. So it just feels like all the rush is now padded with good shit. Like man, reminding me what a real good anime and a really good manga. I mean, the manga for the most part is good. The manga has the rushed ending, but the anime is doing it revision history on that. So
Well, I mean, I'm definitely going to be there.
yeah, you keep on reading, brother. You know what? More for you. I'm all right. If you know what, there's other suffering porn I can go watch. Like there just is. And hell, it might even have like a good start to finish. It might even have a good fight. It might even have something else that like punches above, right? That I can say like I don't know, but Reze arc is as good as it got on a character development, and then afterwards, no character was ever as deep. He writes cool ideas and he writes cool characters, and then he doesn't know what to do with them after the fact.
It's
Hate
great.
that
Part one's
premise.
perfect.
It's good. It's not perfect though. Not
Perfect.
like me.
Now you close it.
Anyways, guys. On that note, as always, you can catch us here on the channel. We do these things once every, I don't know, year or
Whenever
something.
we feel like it.
Whenever we feel like it, mostly if something comes up. So did we do it on JJK's ending? We haven't talked
No,
JJK.
we definitely didn't.
No, we definitely didn't. And Modella ended, and hell, we might still get more JJK. Who fucking knows? Like, GG just keeps putting out shit because they keeps getting the gun put on since then. So you know what? Once the next batch of Hunter x Hunter finally drops, not like finally ends, but like the next batch is looking like possibly like a 20 arc drop. For like the next X amount of time. I'll go back and we'll talk about Hunter x Hunter's succession contest on that one because honestly, the more I like let it sit and come back to it, the more I'm like, dude, this just fucking gas. And I love that this author gets to do whatever he wants because he has the one deal out of all mangakas to say, this is my shit. I put it out of my pace. I do it on my time, and you can't tell me when to start and to stop it and start it. Like, it makes Hunter x Hunter so pure. And every day I think, man, I really hope this comes back in anime form after this succession contest wraps.
Hope so. That'd be
Gotta
cool.
be sick. Anyways, go watch Hunter x Hunter, guys. Don't worry about part 2. It can't hurt you if you can't read, and like every good Chainsaw Man fan, you can't. So, I did. Okay, quick
That's
final
true.
final thought.
Oh
I
my
do.
god, Dylan.
No, my favorite thing from the subreddit for the last like year has been seeing somebody come in and describe how to actually comprehend what people should have read in the chapter. Like they break down the. Have you seen those ones? The ones where they go in, they say each page, and they say, "So here's what happened, and here's what this means." Like literally, they just came down and were like, "I can't trust any of you guys to read this, and I feel like you guys are reading nonsense." And he's like, "This is what's actually going on." And I'm like, "That's so fucking funny," but he's so true. Like I'm like,
It
wow.
is.
And I'm like, like reading comprehension, the brain drain since No Child Left Behind has really left us as a manga, as an animated manga fan base, as horrifically low IQ. Anyways, that's our show, guys. Make sure to tune in whenever for the next ending of the thing. If One Piece ever ends, you better believe we're gonna have thoughts. So,
Yeah, we will.
yep. Till then, bye, guys.
Pocopia is overrated. Bye bye.
No, it's not. It's great.